next speaker from track data is Jim Smith. Jim has a career in greyhound racing that is now approaching 40 years. After graduation from Bryant University in Providence, Rhode Island, his career in greyhound racing began in the early 70s. He started working in the racing departments of a number of New England tracks, and he played an integral role in the grand opening of the greyhound tracks at Seabrook and Plainfield, Connecticut. Jim spent the 80s working mainly for Southern Florida tracks, and it was during that time that he began his work in the computerized part of both racing and handicapping information. After forming his own company, Statform, in the early 90s, his reputation as one of the top greyhound handicappers in the country grew. Statform was known at that time as the premier handicapping publication in greyhound racing, and was available initially only on the track level, but grew with the internet to become the most widely distributed form sheet in the industry. Jim has given handicapping seminars across the country, and to this day he still receives requests from loyal customers to bring back the iconic Statform sheets. So I welcome Jim to come and give us a presentation, please.
Thank you, Karen. First of all, I would like to get a show of hands to see if everybody, or if anybody, knows the name of the greyhound that won that feature race this past Saturday night. Do you have anybody that knows, can tell me the name of the feature? Nobody? Not one? Ah!
Well, it didn't happen last Saturday night.
I understand, but my point is simply that we've gotten away from the whole area that this industry was built on. Karen referred in her opening statements as greyhound racing as a sport. We've gotten away from being a sport. And I did want to tell a story at the risk of some ridicule from my good friend Aldo. I want to go back in time. Many years ago, this is a story about two greyhounds. One greyhound was named Lucky Bannon. The other greyhound was named Bang Bang Billy. Now Lucky Bannon, I see Tim is nodding, he remembers these two. Lucky Bannon was an all-American greyhound. He came to the old Taunton racetrack for the Taunton Derby in the early 70s off of a meeting at West Memphis where he won 18 of 22 races. He was as good as they get. He was traditional, championship greyhound, in that he would always break first, second, or third. He'd come around stalking the leaders. He would be right up in the front, and by that 5 turn, he'd have them measured, and he'd draw out to win by 6 to 8 lengths. And he was a crowd favorite. But there was another greyhound, and he was kind of a misfit. His name was Bang Bang Billy, and he was kind of a knucklehead. They would open the box, and Bang Bang Billy would be dead last. He'd be loping down the front stretch. They'd get into the back stretch, and a light would go on. He'd say, hey, it's time to turn up. And he would go into a wind-up racing cyclonic finish that 3/4 of the way down the stretch, he still wouldn't have reached the lead. But right at the wire, he caught everybody, and he went on to win. And these two greyhounds had a series of, they actually didn't even meet. They raced in separate heats of the Derby. They created such a buzz. The crowds would come out to see these two greyhounds run. Bang Bang Billy and Lucky Bannon, they had their own followings. It was like the Red Sox and the Yankees. If you were a Bang Bang Billy fan, you were not a Lucky Bannon fan. And they would have T-shirts, and the crowds would be 10,000 people show up to see these two greyhounds run. The elimination races were publicized, and the tracks couldn't accommodate the people. There were so many people that came to see these two greyhounds run, and everybody knew their names. And they finally met in the finals. They were both undefeated. And that final Derby race that was run, I hate to say this, but it was over 40 years ago, I still remember it. I mean, it came as a dynamic finish with Lucky Bannon winning by a head, and Bang Bang Billy passing everybody at the finish line. But my point is simply this. that the Greyhounds were the stars, and we've gotten away from that. Shortly after that period of time, somebody came up with an idea, and they said, why don't we have a new type of bet called a perfecta? Hey, that's a good idea. Let's put that on the last race of the night. Keep the interest. Sure, that'll work. Why don't we even take some extra percentage on it? People won't know. You know, we'll get a 20, 22, 24%. The payouts will be big, it won't matter. Yeah. And someone else said, hey, I got a better idea. Let's get 12 of them. Wow, that'll work. Then somebody said, hey, why don't we combine 3 Greyhounds and have a trifecta? Wow, let's do that. You know what? Let's have 12 of them. And that came with a nice little benefit that people didn't count on, is the federal government became partners with us because they said, we're going to take 20% of every large payoff. So guess what? All that money was siphoned out of our play. So instead of getting the churn on that money, that money was gone until tax time. I knew a gambler, knew several gamblers, and I'd say, how you doing? I'm doing great. I'm having one of my best years ever. But I'm dead broke. The government owes me $100,000. I can't even play. This is the type of thing that has crippled our industry. And where are we today? We've got superfectas in every race. We've got 20 races. We've got twin tries, tri-supers, pick threes on every single rolling pick threes, pick sixes. I mean, we've gone the other way. We've taken away, I heard Scott say, people just want to win. And we've made it almost impossible for the little guy to win. We've taken the sport out of it, and we've made the betting so convoluted and so difficult and so fractionalized that there's no pool worth betting. The pools are all too small. So that's why I think we've reached the point we are today. Now, I know we can say competition. I was down in the sports books yesterday. Those are our customers, not the guys sitting at the machines pushing buttons. Our customers are the ones in the sports bar looking at the basketball games and screaming and looking for the sporting event. We've gotten away from being a sporting event. We need to get back to being a sporting event. And one of the things I brought with me, I'm really going old school on you, is an AGTOA publication from July 10th, 1976. For those of you who've never seen it, this is the Greyhound racing record. It's one of the finest things the AGTOA ever produced. Now, I know print media is dead. The New York Times might not even survive. But the point is, this is why I'm here today. This is the magazine that got me hooked on racing. I had a little track in my hometown. And I go, oh yeah, that's okay. Then I found out this is a national sport. This really means something. This is the $1 million day at Biscayne opener. P.L. Greer. This told me that there was something going on bigger than what I had. This was Major League. This was a Major League sport, and here was the proof of it. And here was what was happening all over the country. Well, this still exists. We can do this, just as Rennie said. We've got all the results. People don't want to read the articles today because, first of all, we don't have anyone to write them at the track level, but second of all, we don't need that. Because the generation today that we're trying to reach of new customers, they don't even read complete sentences. We just need to give them a few words. It is. Somebody at your track can give us the information. You know, we don't need the PR people. We've got to work with what we've got, but we don't need a complete written article. Just give us something, and we can tweet it and get it out there and get to the people. Now, I did want to tell you one more story before I wrap up. I got a phone call some time ago from Dennis Bisak, and he said, Jim, I want you to come to the track and meet with me and the general manager. And I go, this can't be good. So I go to the meeting, and Dennis starts the meeting off, and he says, We've got 4 racetracks that I'm projecting will be going out of business this year. Now, this wasn't this year, this was a while back, but the point is, he was telling me that things are hard, which we all knew. But he also said, of those 4, 3 of them are directly customers of mine, and this is going to impact our business. And I knew what he was getting at, and I said to him, Dennis, I'm glad you mentioned that, because guess what? All 4 of those are my customer. And I'm glad you brought me here, because I think I need to talk to you about maybe a little increase in the contract. Now, I didn't get the increase, but the point was that we're in this together. We really are, and we're not in some other business. Track Data is in business with you, and we need you to survive, and we want to do whatever we can to make you survive. We're here for you. And this new policy of getting out there and trying to spread the information so people know that this is a national sport, and it still is. We want to be there for you to do that. And as Glenn Thompson mentioned last night, he quoted Benjamin Franklin on me when he said, we can all hang together, or sure as can be, we'll all hang separately. And we're here to hang together for you. Thank you.